What's going on, guys? So today we've got Dev Briefing 112, and it's a spicy one. We've got hotfixes and the development of the state of play, as well as our first look at the Eastern Front uniform, and it's quite saucy. So starting off with today, we've got a hotfix addressing some of the, apparently there's a browser issue with trying to find some servers not appearing and whatnot, so they've addressed that and fixed it, so you should be seeing all the appropriate servers on your browser there. As well, we've been working on the VoIP system. As you know, it's quite a pain in the arse when you're trying to coordinate a game and all of a sudden VoIP goes and well, you're just left soloing with a bunch of randoms running around, and no one likes it. So just the fact that they're even giving us, an update saying that they are working on it and whatnot is good to see. As well, they're going to be doing a community Q&A soon, so be sure to get your questions in. Obviously on the Steam website you'll have this form where you can click and just fill out your burning questions for the roadmap of 2021. My personal question that I've asked is, will we see female character models coming in for the Soviet Union? As you know, whether we will have character models maybe even for select roles, maybe the medics, because there was a lot of 40% of the paramedics were females, as well as a lot of the snipers as well. So be interesting to see if they come in. If not, it's going to be a bummer, but it would be nice to see just as a collective thing, because with the Soviet Union you weren't just fighting the army, you were fighting the entire nation. So next we're going to go with quality of life, new content and beyond. So we've got a bit of it addressing the MG issue, which for those of you who don't play tanks a lot, sometimes the MG will just be in a weird kind of centering where, your center of the screen is looking at the enemy, but it's firing off to the side, or, the dot that's meant to be your guiding line, if you're in the driver's seat, won't be correct, or, being in the gunner, just your MG fire is just not flying straight trajectory it's meant to be. Apparently that has a lot to do with the lining issue that they were using before they switched over to the actual ballistics of the infantry. So, in future, they're going to be looking at that and kind of reworking the MG kind of system to make it more in line with the actual ballistics as opposed to a lining system. So that's going to be interesting to see how long that's going to take. It's obviously going to take them a little bit of time, but it is planned for update 9, so hopefully we shall see that coming soon. So as well as the MG issue being addressed, we've also got a bit of an issues with the HE shells that sometimes, they're just not quite doing the damage that they should. There'll be an HE shell that lands right beside you and it won't actually kill you, which isn't exactly good. Sometimes the explosion radius that, would detect the explosive hitting you is blocked by some small props, or, just little kind of inconsistencies with the terrain or whatever that might cause you to actually survive the shell. So they're actually looking at that. They've obviously fixed that with the likes of the grenades and the RT satchels and stuff. So they're looking to work that into the heavy shells of the tanks and whatnot. So hopefully we'll get more consistent kind of HE shots, because right now if you're using tanks for focusing mostly on infantry, it's kind of wasting your full potential there. As well as this, they're also addressing the grass issue, which we've all seen it. You spawn in sometimes and there's nothing, and then boom, wheat, cornfield, grass just appears out of nowhere. So they're looking to address that and have that more, essentially just have the grass making sure it doesn't unload between the point of you dying and respawning, so that it just kind of is ready there to plop back straight into view, and you don't have that spawning in and then a few seconds later everything pops in, or even a while later for some people depending on their system. So it's great to see, and that'll be coming in update 9. Also interestingly, they put this down here instead of just after talking about the MG and the HE, but they're also looking to address the armor issue, which for a lot of those that play in tanks, they'll notice there's just weird places where you'll shoot something and it will just kill the tank for some bizarre reason when it shouldn't. For example, on the Sherm on the left side, the baggage area, apparently if you shoot that, even though that's not even part of the tank, it will make it explode. I don't know, I don't play tons of tanks, but I've heard a lot of people complain about just weird things with inconsistencies with the tanks, so hopefully they'll get that addressed and increase survivability for a lot of people, and also help with new players learn the tanks better, because it will you can transfer, I guess, knowledge from the likes of War Thunder or whatever. It's okay, obviously the Tiger is more armored in the front, so we're gonna have to flank around and blah blah blah. So it's just kind of keep more consistency with how the armor kind of should really be represented in the vehicles. And as well, we're also looking to at some point bring in the Panzer IV and the Stug, which for those who don't know, Panzer IV is basically a baby Tiger, similar heavy ass cannon, but a little more mobility, and the Stug is the tank destroyer, essentially. Really low profile, so that's going to be a scary one to kind of bring into the game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the obviously they're referring to just the German ones there, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of vehicles they bring in for the Allies as well as the Russians coming up. Oh, I just want to see a KV-1, baby. I want to see a KV-1. So next we're going to be looking at kind of the meta game, because right now, you know, they want to change it up a little bit, because I mean right now it's kind of, you know, you're playing that line game, you're playing essentially just it's a lot of people aren't kind of enjoying the current meta game. They don't want to bring back ninja garrisons, but they kind of want to work around that. So, you know, maybe incremental kind of pushing forward where, like, you know, you can capture the individual squares, or maybe, you know, the midpoint that they make it that there's actually 2 points that you need to capture, or overall where instead of, you know, we're working at 1 point currently in each zone, and maybe they implement 2, or, you know, they find some other way that you can kind of work, I guess, similar to an offensive, that kind of sense, or, you know, as I said, just the individual squares can be captured going forward. So there's just a bit more flexibility around that without kind of, you know, reverting back to ninja garrison, without reverting back to ninja garrison, oh my god, I can't ninja garrisoning behind the enemy lines. So yeah, I'm interested to see how they're going to actually decide to implement that, and it's definitely going to be welcomed to by the community for any sort of little change, because right now it's just it is what it is. So about localization, you know, they've had a recent surge in the likes of China and stuff, so yeah, it's going to be, they're going to look to implement more languages and whatnot, just, you know, make them more accessible to other kind of regions than it is currently, and it's always good to see, because, you know, it's always good to be accessible. Obviously as well, they're looking to continuously optimize the game, you know, with the weapon overhaul and grass changes. So hopefully, you know, as we keep going and as the game gets closer to launch, we will get a more kind of consistently stable game across. Obviously a lot of people on the likes of Carentan and any of the forest maps, you know, Hurricane and Hill 400, just sometimes are just, the frames just don't exist for some people. So I mean, it's mostly the low end PCs that suffer the most, but even, yeah, it would just be nicer to have more consistent kind of higher frames overall. It's always going to be welcome. So any little changes they make to that, and I mean, for the likes of weapons, they don't have to redo the models, but the fact that they are is just very nice and well appreciated. So well, they're also addressing, you know, a lot of people are like, why is there no, you know, tutorials and tips, which you know, when they're constantly continuing to develop the game, they don't want to make a tutorial that's kind of out of date, because even if you look back, you know, even a patch or two for some other people's tutorials and whatnot, they just, how quickly something can go out of date is kind of the problem with a game that isn't fully launched, and they haven't fully like achieved their vision for the game. So maybe once they do, they will. If not, you still gotta rely on the old YouTubers to work on. So yeah. And here we are now moving on to the Russian uniform 19. It's the Summerfield uniform 1940 to 1943, which, you know, yeah, obviously it's a bit of earlier in the war than we've currently seen, so it's going to be interesting to see what comes out from the German side. But for instance, yeah, I think overall, I think the Russian uniform is looking pretty nice. I love the little kind of the red kind of collar bits. It's looking pretty good, pretty sexy. Overall, it's going to be interesting to see what other kind of uniforms come out for them, what kind of headgears. You know, I want the traditional kind of, you know, the Russian hat. That's the one thing I want to see for the Russians as well. I want to see females in the sniper division, and I want to see the Russian kind of winter hat. So overall, I mean, yeah, they just look so good. And yeah, so I can't wait to see what kind of weapons we have introduced, and overall, and just get a better grasp of what exactly it is we have in store for the Russian Eastern Front. It's gonna be saucy, boy. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed my little dev brief rundown. Hoping to do some more stuff like this, bring more kind of information on the game, not just, you know, the competitive and just meme side of the game, and yeah, bring you more information about it as we get it. So guys, be sure to drop a like and sub, and I'll see you guys in the next one.